everyone. Just want to check, can you guys hear and see us? And there's a little chat feature on the right hand side if you want to just type in there. Stacey's typed in there for us to...
With a spelling mistake.
Yay, wonderful. Amazing. So I'm just going to do a little welcome and before we pass over to Phil with a few housekeeping. So I'm Ellie from QC, and you've got Hayley there as well, which you probably... And then Stacey's here as well. She's not on camera, but she is going to be a mysterious voice. And we're all going to be monitoring the chat as well. So if you've got any questions or anything, any part, you can type them in the chat and we can keep an eye on them for you. Thank you very much for coming as well. We really appreciate it. Just to let you know as well, the session is being recorded. So, yeah. But yeah, none of your names or anything will be in it. So it'll just be the session itself. Wonderful. So if we want to make a start, I'll introduce you to Phil, who's going to be running this workshop for us. Thank you so much for joining us, Phil, and offering to do this again as well. It's really kind.
You're very welcome. No problem at all. Thank you guys for having me over again for another workshop. It's as I said before, it's a good stretch for me because this is now the second workshop I've ever done. So I still need a bit of a safety net with my script and stuff, and it's like riding a bike. I still need my stabilizers, you know. So bear with me if it does come across as disjointed, but I'll try and make it as fluid as possible for you guys. Before I start, though, Ellie, I'd like to say well done to you for your talk that you did the other night. I logged in with my 7-year-old daughter and we watched it, and it was really, really fascinating. So thank you for that. It was really good.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
It's good. So, guys, what we're going to discuss tonight, really, and talk about will be motivation and what I deem as 4 key motivators for every human being. And what we'll do is we'll go through. I'll discuss some of these motivators, and then we'll give you some tips that hopefully will help embed some ways to make your motivation stronger and make you really aim for and fulfill the goals that you're looking for moving forward. But before we start, as you may well know, I do like my breath work. So a good place to start, I think, is get us all in the mood. Is this just a couple of little minutes, a couple of rounds of breath work to get us going. So first thing we'll do is, what I want to do is just do, if you can remember, there's something called box breathing. So there's 4 sections to it. Put my hand in the right place. So we'll go for 3 seconds. So it's 3 seconds in, all nasal breathing if you can. 3 in, hold, 3 out, hold, rinse and repeat. But before we'll do that, there's one really simple technique which is a great thing, resets your physiology, and it's just basically tells your whole system that everything's fine. So if you're feeling a little bit stressed and a little bit that you need to calm down a little bit, one simple thing, which is something we all do, which is sigh. So if you just take a deep breath through your nose and just sigh, we'll just do a couple more. You feel better already?
I love a good sigh.
A simple sigh is just such a good thing to do. So I won't join in because it's so difficult to join in and go through the technique. But we'll do 2 minutes. So if I get my clock ready, and we'll do a start for now. So if we start, remember nasal breathing, in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, and relax. And if you want to carry on trying to just keep maintaining nasal breathing, just gentle in and out, always good to try and breathe through your nose, and I bang on about it to everybody, so I'm not going to stop tonight. Right,
That's really lovely.
So the four main motivators that I want to talk about are, the first one will be fear, which is one that I'm very familiar with, and in the past it used to be my core motivator, not always in a good way. Then we'll go on to talk about desire, duty, and love. So, like I said, in the past, fear would be a primary motivator for me, and I would find it would hold me back, and it would limit my own goals, and I would feel shackled by fear or failure or a phobia. So, typical example would be if I was going to go for a contract with my IT business, I would sometimes think, oh, I can't possibly go for that contract because I might have to give a presentation to directors, might have to write a report, and I would think I'm no good at either of them, so I'd failed before I even started. So or I wouldn't even start at all because my fear had just completely just thrown a blanket over it and say, no, that's no good. And it used to hold me back in so many ways. And the other thing that I'd find is I used to I'd be afraid to ask for help. It was almost like a kind of a Superman complex, if you like. You think, well, no, I can't possibly ask for help. People will think I'm weak, or people may think that I'm not confident. But a simple thing like asking for help, it's the old saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. And it took me a long time to realize that, and I would be too proud to ask for help. So that's another little thing that personally helped me to kind of break free from the shackles of the fears that I would always feel would overwhelm me in the past. Just recently, I heard an acronym, or what fear is an acronym of, and I'm probably late to the game in this because I'd never heard it before. You guys might have heard this many times. So fear is false evidence appearing real. Have you guys heard that one?
No.
No. And that really struck a chord with me, and I thought, wow, that actually could have been my motto or mantra in life, because it was like, whenever I thought about doing something that would push the envelope or take me out of my comfort zone, I would project those fears, and I would be thinking, that's how it's going to happen. I'm gonna fail, because all the worst possible outcomes are what would automatically come to my mind. And it's strange how, when you can just kind of like reframe something and look at that acronym for fear and think, well, okay, well, it doesn't actually have to be like that. We have got a choice to control our fear and manipulate it to be a driver for good. So by learning to harness that as a motivator, can drive us away from feeling that fear is real. So now I like to actually greet fear as an adversary or opponent, if you like. So when I sense the usual feelings that I would get that would accompany fear, I'll think to myself, there you are, you little I've been waiting for you, or I've kind of been expecting you. There you are. Okay, let's dance, let's fight, let's go for it. So I will embrace it and and challenge myself to. It's like the old saying, feel the fear, but do it anyway. So that's like a challenge to yourself, and that's one thing that I would recommend to anybody, to say, right, if your fear is not going to be the boss of you. You're aware of it, you acknowledge it, and you move through it. It's not going to be that state that you're in is not always going to be there. One way or another, it's going to go. Okay, so learning to lean into fear and pushing boundaries of our own comfort zone. Now that really is where true growth can be found, I think. So as you can see, fear is one of those primary or core motivators. Now, everyone has plans and goals, and it seems we're all striving towards something. And in a book that I recently read by Jay Shetty, that you might have heard of Jay Shetty, he's quite well known on social media, does a lot on Instagram and stuff. Now, this guy went to live as a monk for 3 years, and he wrote a self-help book last year, Live Like a Monk, which, if you haven't read, I would highly recommend you to, because there's some great tips in there to help you grow as a person. And in fact, that's where some of these motivators come from. And it's not that Jay Shetty developed these; it's that it come from a Hindu philosopher where these 4 motivators come from, and it's just something that Jay Shetty has developed. And like I said, they struck a chord with me, and by working through some of these things, it really helped me. So I think, well, if it's something that's helped me, then hopefully by sharing it with you guys, it will give you a few little nuggets that might be able to help you move forward. So at our core, we are motivated by these 4 main drivers or motivators: fear, which we've just dipped into a little bit; desire, and that could be desire for success, wealth, or just basic pleasures; a sense of duty, so a gratitude, responsibility, and a wanting to do the right thing; and lastly, love, so being compelled to care for others, and an urge to help others is a really strong motivator. And to find out which one is motivating you at any given time and any moment, ask yourself the following questions and answer honestly. And you might want to write these down, because it's something that might be good to work on in your own time. I found I spent a few days going over these and really asking myself why, and just drilling down through to try and get to some core motivators. So the first one is, what am I striving towards with these plans and goals? What am I striving towards with my goals and aspirations? What am I seeking through my choices? Am I looking for a thrill or safety and security? Do I want to make an impact and live a life with purpose? So the 4 motivators can help paint a clearer picture of where we are in life now, where we want to go, and why. These motivations are what drive everything we do. Some of these motivations are stronger and far more lasting than others. If we learn how to recognize these motivators and how they show up in our lives, they can unlock the door to living with intention, impact, and positivity. So how do we make the 4 motivators work for us in our lives instead of feeling like we're powerless against them? Well, when we are able to understand what is motivating us and what needs we have, we can make specific choices to help us achieve our goals. So studying what motivators drive us and what lies beneath them is critical to our development. Understanding our motivation helps us dial in and really fine-tune on why and what ways to find we can practically achieve the goals that we have. So some motivations are powerful and sustainable, while others are not. So as we look at some of these motivators, you can begin to ask yourself, what are some of your desires and aspirations, to see what the motivates, how these motivators may fit in your life. So we can ask yourself things like, what do I want? What do I really want? What am I looking for in life? What makes me feel fulfilled? And what really excites me? What really excites me in life? When we understand what we are looking for and how our desires play into shaping our motivations, we get to a chance to kind of clearly see whether the path we are on is really serving who we are. So once we define our motivators, we can really start to live a life of intention. So intentional living is a lifestyle that is based on your true values and your conscious beliefs, and then lived out in accordance with those values and who you truly are. It is a way of thinking about your life in a purposeful and meaningful way. So broken down to the simplest level, motivators answer the key question, why? Why am I doing anything? So take, for example, myself, a question that I asked myself years ago was, why did I want to start my own business? So when I first started my business, it was because I wanted to be have the freedom to do what I wanted to do. Although sometimes it doesn't feel like that when you run your own business, but that was one of my key motivators. I didn't want to be told what to do. I wanted to kind of seek my own path. But it could be anything. It could be somebody wants to start their own business to make an impact in the world, just to be rich, to be successful, or even to be liked, to get a sense of kudos in society. And none of these answers are necessarily wrong. Well, they're not wrong, but they're all different. But when we step back and look at why we want something, we are able to see what is really driving that want. So it's the why that is behind the want is what you want to kind of get your head around a little bit. So looking at fear again as a motivator for doing or not doing something, sickness, poverty, rejection, just to name a few things, are the way that fear can sneak in and messes with the why we want to do what we want to do. So for that reason, fear is not really a sustainable motivator. It can get you to a certain place, but it's not lasting. It will only last for a certain amount of time. And actually living with weight of fear as a motivator can be heavy. I know personally it was for me. We cannot really truly build our lives on motivations that are due to fear. When you think about fear as a motivator in our lives, and if you look back at times where fear has motivated you, did it really have an outcome that left you feeling satisfied and happy? Chances are it didn't. So fear drives us to make choices that we believe will bring us security and safety. Fear alerts and ignites us to make progress to meet these external expectations. When we operate in fear for too long, we can't truly work to the best of our abilities. When we operate in fear, we are too worried and too focused on getting the wrong result that we can actually fail to see the good that's in our lives. And this can ultimately lead to burnout and stress. So when we're focused on a bad outcome, we fail to look at what lessons are in the situation and the good alternative endings that we can create. So we give our power over to that fear and let us hold us back and create our negative feelings, and we can get caught in this loop. So something personally that, and this is anecdotal again, something that I personally work on to combat fear is visualization. So if I've got a meeting coming up and I have to give a speech, I will mentally rehearse it over and over again, almost like to the point of OCD, where I can visualize myself delivering that speech. And that helps to push out any negatives. They might still creep in, but they're like weeds, and I'm trying to plant seeds that will grow into flowers, not weeds. So I'll almost get to the point where I'll compel myself towards making that speech a success, because it's played out in my mind so many times that it can't possibly fail. And that's the way I look at it. Yeah, go on.
I'm wondering how many people here feel like fear is a primary driver for their decision making. Just type in the chat box if you relate to this. It's really nice to just see that you're not alone when something like this is going on. Yes. So many yeses. Okay.
So fear of planning, Colin. Yeah, I can relate to that, definitely.
Thank you, everyone.
So we've pretty much covered fear, and I do have lots of experience to draw on. So that arc might have gone on a little bit longer there. So apologies for that.
There's a question here, Phil, if you don't mind exploring this a little bit.
Yeah.
Someone's asked, what's something that helps to lift fear / be able to do things that scare us?
To be able to do things that scare us, depending on what those things are. Me personally, I like to make bite-size attacks at something. So if I know that it's something that I really feel fearful of, I'll make little inroads into introducing myself to embracing that fear, if you like. So if it's something, like I said, if it's something like public speaking, I'll deliver that speech to 2 people or to a friend, just to start to feel comfortable about it. So you just always incrementally expanding that comfort zone. So what may have felt like it was a massive step isn't so much of a stretch moving forward. I mean, I'd throw that out to maybe you, Hayley, because you probably got some good input on that, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I really love the comfort zone stretch ideas. And also you spoke earlier about visualization. Yeah, there's ways that you can anchor a really calm state. Use your breathing practices. Imagine that you're back somewhere that really you felt really lovely and calm and relaxed. And I know Stacey used this when she was doing presentation practice too, and would visualize being in a beautiful place, and it really helped, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, this was something that Hayley actually taught me a good couple of years ago before I joined QC. We had like a public speaking or presentation that we needed to deliver in front of about 100 people. First time really doing something big in terms of like public speaking. I was absolutely terrified. And Hayley taught me this anchoring technique where I basically like anchored like a tapping on my fingers to this state of feeling calm and being back. I drew on like a memory that I had of being on the beach and feeling really nice and calm and feeling the water on my feet and feeling the sun on my face. And we anchored that to like this physical motion that I could use. And then just before I kind of went on stage to do the thing where I was feeling absolutely terrified, I sat there and did the breathing and tapping and kind of really getting myself back into that calm state. And I was just really, really surprised at how calm I felt delivering that presentation. And like for the first time, my legs weren't shaking, and it was, yeah, amazing. So, I mean, that is definitely one technique that you can learn and that you can practice.
Nice. Yeah.
That is in the quiet speaking toolkit as well. And what else? I think that when our heart is really in something, it's easier to push through the fear and do the thing. So really connect with why you want to do it. Why is it so important to you? That would be the first place to go.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a good one. And just going back to visualization, something that for me in the past, when I first started to try and learn visualization, I found I wasn't very good at it, because when I really sort of looked at how I would perceive things, there was a lot of chatter going on in my mind, and it wasn't that I wasn't visualizing things. It's just the overriding. It was just this all the time. There was a lot of, you can't do this, you can't do that, you don't want to do it like that, blah 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 blah, and that was overriding. But so to really take some time and try and learn to visualize things. I mean, even really weird for me is when I first started visualizing stuff. It was in black and white in my mind. I was like, why was that? It needs to be, to me, it needs to be in glorious Technicolor, you know. And even to the point when you're visualizing stuff, use different colors. If you play around with it as well. Like I found
really cool.
Blue for me. If I visualize things in blue, because it's one of my favorite colors, that really works for me. And gold as well for me as well. Visualizing something with just like a golden hue, like almost like sun kissed. Weird, but that's just me. So I think everyone's different, and just play around with it really, and just see what works for you guys. Yeah.
You have just reminded me of that NLP technique where you imagine things in like black and white and make it grainy. Like if it's a negative image, make it grainy, make it black and white, make it really small, and then replace it with this beautiful, vibrant, massive image of the positive event that could happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good. Yeah, exactly for me, the black and white thing, because it was, I wasn't making it seem real enough. So when I was trying to visualize stuff, it didn't seem real. It felt like an old TV program. So I really needed to bring it into glorious Technicolor. Okay, so moving on. So the next one I want to talk about is desire. So desire is the motivator that's behind a yearning for material items or success. This motivator appears when we seek personal gratification through success, wealth, and pleasure. Desire is a motivator that is tricky, as it is driven primarily out of our want for material things. Does acquiring these material possessions really bring happiness? Or are we tricking ourselves into thinking that is what success truly looks like? So our need for success is born out of desire. Most people would put success down as a goal in their lives. We are often taught through society that success equals happiness, and this is actually an illusion, because success, as we think of it, rarely means happiness. Many people, successful people, are not happy at the end of the day. We see this time and time again with celebrities, other rich and famous people who are even at the peak of their careers. They can usually be plagued with relationship problems and addictions. So these guys have got everything they need. Supposedly, they've got all the wealth, they've got all the material things, yet they're not truly happy. So you've got to ask yourself: is desire, what you're desiring and how you're desiring it, moving you forward in the right way? So desire, like fear, is not a sustainable motivator either, really. And our search is never really for the next thing we want, because once we've got it, we're always moving on to the next thing. So it could be something like, for instance, in the past for me, so when I was a young lad and I just got my first car, and it was a beaten up banger, I wanted to save for a new car. And it was that kind of anticipation that was the driver, that made me save the money. But yet, when I got the car, that the shiny new feel for the car soon wore off. It was days. I thought, well, I've got this car now, and it's not improved my life in any way. And it's weird. It's even things like that. You talk to people about, or they see someone who's successful in the car. They see someone in a flash car, and you think, oh, I want a car like that because it means I'm successful. But when you look at someone driving a flash car, and I've asked people about this, and it's the key. It's the weird thing about it is it's not, you're not looking at the person. You're not thinking, oh, he or she, oh, they must be successful. You're actually just looking at the car and thinking, oh, that's a nice car. So your perception of what you think other people may be thinking about you is nothing to do with it. So it's just another sort of way to look at how desire desires can manipulate you a little bit, really, into thinking that by having one thing is going to give you something else, because it's usually generally doesn't. And it, like I say, it could be not necessarily a car. It could be you want a fancy job title, you want a pay rise, a new computer. And at the end of the day, it's just that craving for it, and we get stuck in this cycle. But so until we break things down, you can really see that desire as a motivator will really break down over time, like fear, because it's unsustainable, because you're always looking for the next thing and then the next thing. If fear limits us and desire and success don't really satisfy us, then let's look at the last two motivators, and hopefully there'll be something in there that's a bit more sustainable for us moving
Before
forward.
we move on, do you think that desire for approval comes under that bracket, or is that more under the fear bracket?
Desire for approval. Well, if you break that down more, it depends on what you look. If you're looking for approval from family members, peers, because for me personally, when I look at that, I kind of think, well, the only person, when you really break it down, the person that you really need to seek approval from is who? Yourself.
So
Because
what's
9 times
underneath
out of
that
10.
desire for approval?
Sorry?
What's underneath the desire for approval?
Yeah. So you can often think, well, if you're seeking someone else's approval for something, it's almost like that's a fear as well. Because to me, it's like, well, you kind of, the way I would look at it is I'm scared to actually do it by myself. I need to get someone else's approval to say, yeah, you can do that. And we all need cheerleaders. I mean, I love to have to check in with people and sound things off. But one thing I've learned quite recently is the biggest cheerleader you'll always have in life, and you need to learn to love yourself to do it, is to be your own cheerleader. It's the only true approval that ever really counts is your own. That make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. I've lost where I am now. So speaking of sort of what Jay Shetty was talking about, learning some of these lessons about duty and love and desire. So he actually went and lived as, like I said, he lived as a monk for quite some time. And monks actually learned to live life with joy and meaning. So living a meaningful life is not necessarily happiness, because you can't always have happiness, and sometimes it's not always there. So just by learning to actually look to live a life that's full of joy and meaning can be much more rewarding and sustainable moving forward. So monks look for value and purpose of what is happening. They seek for ways that can add value and purpose to those around them. And I think, as you guys as coaches, you can probably relate to that quite well, I would imagine. Yeah. So monks believe that to feel meaning shows that actions have a purpose and lead to a worthwhile outcome. They believe that they leave a positive imprint in their world. Life goes on with the mundane day to day, but we can always find meaning and purpose in how we look through life's challenges. And he wrote in his book that we can survive the worst tragedies by looking for meaning in loss. So purpose and meaning can lead to true contentment. So duty can bring true love and meaning, and different people are driven by different senses of duty. They may feel a duty of care to the family, follow a particular moral code, or pursue a philosophy, or be driven to follow their job or their vocation, whatever it may be. But this commitment often drives their daily actions. So people may take this approach when they follow certain disciplines. They may love to make lists. I've got my sister-in-law, she's a list maker. She starts the day with a big list. She even gives my brother a list, and he's got to go through his list, and he's ticking his boxes off. And that they get a sense of meaning from that. And they'll get a real kick out of delivering the goods by going through that sort of tick list. So looking at your own life at the moment, are there any ways or anything that you feel a sense of duty? And different people express this in different ways. So I'll ask you, Hayley, is there anything that you really feel there's a sense of duty?
Um, protecting more the environment as a goal,
Yeah.
especially because of all the news that we keep hearing. So I think that's what's definitely driven me recently. To sort of go back into education and learn more about it, but also working with QC and, helping people understand how nature can have such benefit to our own well-being as well as like a global thing. So yeah, I think that's really interesting.
Like for me, is I've got a sense of duty to help other people, because I've got personal experience with not just myself, my brother's. He won't mind me sharing this, but my brother, when he was a young lad, really suffered badly with depression, and I've seen it in other family members. I'm not saying it's a genetic thing or anything like that, but my family has been surrounded with lots of anxiety issues and depression. And I'm 48 years old nearly now, and it's taken me this long to actually get to the point where I can feel like I can share this with people. But I think, do you know what? I've given myself permission to do it now, whereas before I'd be scared of the approval, seeking approval, thinking or I know I've talked with Hayley before about what we've called imposter syndrome, and I'd think, I've not got the skill set to do that. But the more I actually explored that, the more I thought, well, do you know what? You've got a lifetime of experience with it. You may not have all the qualifications, but you've worked through issues of fear, issues of anxiety yourself. You've put mechanisms in place, and that's really given me that strong duty of attachment to. I really want to share that with people. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it really reminds me of where I was as well, when I was like, I need this other qualification and another qualification. And then Lizzie, my coach, was like, when are you going to stop? When are you just going to get out there and use the qualifications that you have? I was like, I could just keep on just keep collecting qualifications and I still won't feel good enough. Just need to get out there and practice.
That's it. So that's why, I mean, just looking at both of your faces and the reactions when you talked about things that you were attached to, so sort of the environment, ecology, for you, Ellie, you lit up, and Hayley, when you said, yeah, that reminded you, again, it was written all over your face. And so it's that duty as a motivator to me is huge, and you've both just reaffirmed that to me just by looking at you talking about it. So that
Question, Phil.
Yeah.
How might a person be able to differentiate the difference between a sense of like obligation from like people pleasing versus an actual genuine sense of duty?
Okay, well, I would come back to, and this is something I was going to talk about in a minute anyway, is just the power of why. Okay, ask yourself why, and keep asking yourself why. And so if you've got, I don't know who asked the question, but if you can, I don't know if you can share a bit of content. You don't have to, but if you can share a bit of content, then might help me a little bit more.
I was just asking the question. It was just something that came to mind, just because I know a lot of people have a lot of people pleasing behaviors. I know I have before, and I've been motivated quite a lot in the past by wanting to, or like, I suppose feeling like there was a sense of duty, but it was actually underneath was more of like a people pleasing thing, which I think I would then really associate that with being like a fear motivator. But I'm just wondering, like, if anyone's kind of experiencing that at the moment, how would they be able to tell the difference between which one is actually fear but disguised as duty in air quotes? If that makes any sense.
That's a really good point.
To me, it comes down to self-esteem. So I would say every time I look personally, if I think that looking for approval and people pleasing, it's because I think I need that external approval or people to look at me and give me a pat on the back and say, well done, you've done a good job for that. But truly speaking, I think that that if you can draw that from within, then it's a much more powerful and tangible asset for you. Does that answer your question?
I would say, like, what does it feel like? Does it feel good to you? Because if it doesn't, then it's probably coming from a place of fear. We're often conditioned as children to be this very dutiful, there's lots of you should do this, you should do that, you should look after other people before looking after yourself. So we kind of need to flip that and look after ourselves first before we start looking after other people, even if we feel like there's a sense of duty, because like you say, Stacey, underneath that is probably more that fear of rejection, because that's what we kind of grew up with.
Stacey, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that's good. Thank you.
Okay, no problems. So talking about duty again, so without a reason for moving forward, we can lose drive quite easily. But if you have an attachment to something, that can really help keep you motivated moving forward towards your goals. So set the intention. Having that intention can be a real driving force. And when you work out your root motivation, you can develop these intentions, which will help you keep driving forward towards your goals. Now, the last one we want to look at is love. So, as we all know, love heals all, as they say. It has the power to give you a new vision of the future. When you love someone and that person feels loved, a feeling of mutual acceptance and trust is born. It creates a very special motivation to give your best and be a better person. Love as a source of motivation and energy transforms us into being a better version of ourselves. Being loved makes you feel safe, gives you a reason to believe in yourself. And unconditional love starts an engine inside you, which can open all kinds of doors. And being loved is also good for your well-being, since it means that someone appreciates you for just being who you are and being the way you are. Love gives you life and makes you shine. Love enables you to reach your true potential. It makes you a better person. And it's not just romantic love we're talking about here. It's the ability to revitalize. So take, for example, the love parents have for their children. It's unconditional. But that love, when given in the right way, will actually feed confidence and grow self-esteem for the children. When you show love and you're giving someone you are actually giving them a sense of peace and security. When you give love in that way, you're really giving someone their self-esteem, because you're giving them a sense of tranquility and belonging that's created from within that. And a couple of scientists actually from the University in London studied what happens in your brain when you're in love. And it's quite interesting because they actually used neuroimaging and they discovered that when you fall in love or feel love for your children, you disconnect the parts of your brain that are related to other emotions, especially your capacity for social criticism when you look at a loved one, parts of your prefrontal cortex get disconnected. And it's funny, like you talk to people about their kids and they can see no wrong for their kids. It's just like we can live life through sort of rose tinted glasses a little bit. So it just goes to show how powerful love can be, because it can actually distort things, and not always in a good way, but if it comes from a good place, then it's going to be a good driver for you moving forward. And the same thing happens with certain areas of the brain related to aggression and fear and planning that someone mentioned earlier on. I think it was Colin. It affects your judgment, and you tend to trust more easily and be less strict when it comes to your social assessments. And so you could say that your brain is programmed to see good in others when you're in love. So love as a source of motivation really helps you to become a better person. So the scientific community say that human attachment employs a push-pull mechanism which overcomes social distance by deactivating networks used for negative emotions and critical social assessment. It also bonds individuals through reward circuitry and dopamine, explaining the power of love as a source of motivation and enthusiasm. That is why we can say that love makes us better people. Love gives you the strength to face new challenges, since it gives you someone by your side who trusts you. It gives you the power to move forward and keep striving. And through love, you have the opportunity to have the same effect on another person. Therefore, when you spread love, you're projecting the best version of yourself. Both loving and being loved gives you the opportunity to improve and become more confident in yourself. So I guess what are we waiting for? Get out there and start loving. So we've looked at arguably 4 main motivating drivers: fear, desire, duty, and love. And you can look up, there's many more that can be added to the list, but these are, in my mind, 4 real core motivators.
Can I
so
just
when you
add a little
yeah,
twist on the
go for it.
love one? What's coming to mind is compassion. I think what we're talking about is also compassion, because compassion is basically love in action, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. So when you will get a chance later to reflect on learning about these motivators, get a sense of what your tendencies currently are, and ask yourself, are they truly serving you well, or can you look to find better motivators for yourself moving forward? So you must remember, so we've got goals and aspirations, but they won't just happen by thinking about them. We must take action. So we can talk till the cows come home about motivation, but action is the key. And something that I like to say is, practice makes habit, and good habits will reap reward and fundamentally will expand your growth as a person. So when you're growing, like I said earlier on, grow seeds in your mind, not weeds. Yeah, I love that one. Grow seeds, not weeds. So just moving on from motivation now, there's a few tips, and I found these are stuff that are NLP based. There was a few that I picked out, and again, this can be sent over on a worksheet if you guys are interested. So the first tip for motivation that I like is, and we've already touched on it a couple of times, discover your why. As Friedrich Nietzsche said, he or she who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. Well, that's quite a huge statement when you think about it, because it's basically saying, if you know exactly why you're driven to aim for what it is that you want, it can be so compelling that there isn't much you wouldn't do to get there. So by really looking at your why can help you with get through any of the hows you're going to get there. So how do you reveal your big why? So Start by asking yourself why a desired outcome is important to you. What will it truly give you? Now, you'll probably have a couple of answers straight off the bat that you could write down, but people will start there. They'll have a couple of answers, like, but what we've talked about is keep drilling down why, and just keep asking yourself, and sit, even sit with it for a couple of days, because it gets interesting then, because whatever you write down and you keep questioning it and repeating it, you'll get to a point where the answer will probably become emotional. And that is probably where you'll find your highest motivator. And if you find that the answer isn't really motivating enough, then the thing that you're looking for is probably not the right goal. So you've actually unearthed a distraction. So choose a different goal, one that serves you better. Does that make sense? You kind of get that, yeah? So if you go through that process and find out what isn't compelling, there's probably a sign that the task isn't worth doing at all. In which case, like I said, you found your distraction. So look for another goal. I'm just conscious of time, and there might be a couple of questions, so I'll just do a couple more.
We can go over a little bit if need be.
Okay, make a decision and commit to it. Decision isn't a maybe. It's not an I do, or I might do it. It might happen one day. They can be preferences. So if you find out what your goal is, make a decision, set it in stone. So the word decision is derived from the Latin word, which literally translates to cutting off. And that basically means when you make a decision, you're cutting yourself off from every other possibility. So when you say yes to your outcome, you are simultaneously saying no to everything else. So often the hardest part of a goal is simply making the decision to say yes to it and no to everything else. Again, this comes back to things that I've talked about earlier on with myself, is once I've committed to something, now I'll really make sure that I question myself every day and do little things. It doesn't have to be a massive thing every day, just one little thing that's heading myself towards that goal that I'm looking for.
I think one mistake that we often make when we're making decisions or when we're talking about our goals is we say, I'm going to try. And when we use the word try, we've kind of already achieved the goal because we've already started trying. So we need to ditch the try and just go for the goal.
So when I think about the try, it's like I can't remember who told me it. Probably everyone's familiar with Star Wars. It's the old Yoda saying, it's there is no try, do or do not, and that's cool, you know.
Colin got there first.
Yeah, definitely Yoda works for me. Another tip that is really useful, and it's one that Hayley, you'll probably be more than familiar with from NLP, is chunking. Chunk things down. Break down your big goal into digestible chunks. The best changes are the ones that you can actually execute. So make the process easier by metaphorically eating bite-sized chunks, a mouthful at a time, rather than biting off too much more than you can chew. Increasing your efforts by 100% in one go and trying to maintain that is much harder than making 5 or 10% incremental changes over a period of time. So chunk down.
Have you got an example that you can share, Phil?
Something that's, so for me, obviously I'm looking to start my own coaching practice, but I've been in the past, and I've talked with you about this, Hayley, I've been sort of not been feeling that I'm quite ready for it. So it's something that I've been doing every day since I've done my last bit of coaching training. I'll make sure I read something every day that is given me something new about coaching, or one thing for me that works really well is checking in with people like you, people like Stacey, people like Elaine that I know that you've had on recently do some workshops. We're all in kind of the same. We've got similar aligned goals, and I think just by checking in with people like you, it just spurs me along, and just kind of like your enthusiasm will rub off on me, and I think, yeah, I can see what they're doing, and it kind of like little things like that will just keep my motivation levels higher.
Yeah, it's upping your curiosity and keeping that heart connection as well.
Definitely.
Thanks for sharing.
It's all right, no problems. Another tip, which is some people might think it's common sense, but it's basically make your environment work for you, not against you. So if you're looking to lose weight, it's no good having a cupboard full of cookies when your outcome is to improve your diet and live better. Now, something I heard this last year on I don't know if you guys heard of Dr. Rangan Chatterjee does a podcast. No, he's basically a GP, British guy, really interesting guy, and he said something, and I thought, yeah, that's making your environment work for you. So he had a patient who was overweight, diabetic, and was struggling to lose weight, and he said, well, what is it that is one of your worst weaknesses? And this guy said, it's Doritos. I can't stop eating Doritos. And it's like the old the advert for the Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop, kind of thing. And he was just like, he would just munch on them, and it just wasn't serving him well. So what this guy did is he actually he bought his Pringles or his Doritos, but he actually locked them in a cupboard in the shed at the bottom of his garden. So if he wanted them, he really had to want them, because it was a chore to actually go and get them. And people do the same thing with cigarettes. They'll go and hide them somewhere. But so make your environment work for you. Don't have things in and around your environment that's gonna distract you. So definitely that's one that works for me. And things like phones. If I'm working on something and I need to write something, or I need to really concentrate, I'll make sure that the phone is in another room or switched off, because there's that temptation. Oh, something's just popped up on Instagram, and this has happened or that's happened. I'll have a quick look, and then before you know it, you've been sucked into this little 5-inch screen, and you're nowhere further forward with the task you first started with. So definitely things like that can help. Well, I'll throw it out to you, Hayley. Now, is there any little tips for motivation that you can give to your members?
I think one of my favorites is looking at the evidence for and against doing something. So if I do this, what will I gain? If I do this, what will I lose? If I don't do this, what will I gain? If I don't do this, what will I lose? And it's quite nice to be able to look at those lists and work out like what's the wise decision for you.
Yeah, definitely. And action plans as well. I think if you can put in place an action plan for your day, if you've got a load of goals that you want to achieve in the day, write down your little list, write down a little action plan. But the best time for doing that is the night before. So something I do is I'll sort of relax at the end of the day, do a bit of meditation or breath work, or some people it might even be a couple of sighs. Just something just to chill you out and relax, and then think about tomorrow. Write it down. And another good thing about that is if you write it down, you're not thinking about it when you go to bed. Then you can probably sleep easier, because you've actually you've got your plan ahead. You're not thinking at 3:00 in the morning, oh, I need to do this tomorrow, but it's already mapped out. The plan is already there for the next day. So I think that's a good one that works for me, definitely. Cool.
Yeah, make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, so Stacey likes a few lists as well then.
Yes.
Stacey, is your mic still on?
It's given me Stacey's name, so I'm the listener.
You're the listener. You're the listener. Right, okay. Confused now. No worries. No worries. Let's see, is there anyone else? So I had it on my list, something that you just brought up there. But yeah, last one I'll just mention again is something that we talked about. Hang out with the right people. So I talked about checking in, that's my little sort of chunking bits and having little things that I do every day or check in with people that are looking for the same kind of goals as me and have got similar aspirations. So if you hang out with the right people, you get nurturing and encouragement. And we're not talking about sort of people pleasing or looking for approval, but that nurturing and encouragement will lead to growth. And you spend time with the right group of people, then it can reap rewards. Even things like if you want to get fit. I was talking to a lad the other day, and he wanted to get fit, and I said, well, go and join a running club. And obviously, current times we can't really go out to a running club, but when we're permitted to do so, going out and being with like-minded people, that gives you that extra motivation. If you're going to meet up with people on a Tuesday night and go for a run, then not only do you think, oh, I don't want to let them down because I'm committed to it. Any little thing that you can get that will keep you motivated will help. And just sounding off to people who've got like-minded aspirations. Join a club. If you like photography, go and join a photography club, or join an online group where you can chat to people about things like that. I mean, Ellie, you're into photography, aren't you? Yeah. So is there anything that are you in any groups like that help you?
Yeah, mainly online ones, especially at the moment. But to be honest, that's the main reason I like Facebook, for all these little groups. The same with running, like you were talking about. There's sort of independent kind of running clubs that you can talk to other people that are in the similar situation. So it's kind of been one benefit of this is the connecting globally with these little niches that we enjoy. And then you get motivated, like you said, off of other people. So it's really cool.
So your vibe attracts your tribe. Nice. It's true. Yeah, definitely true. I mean, I'm training to do a coastal marathon, which is in May, and it's quite a brutal one. It's like Lizard to Land's End on the cliff path. It's like 45 miles, and well, people think you're mad when you say you're doing that, but it's just, I mean, for me, it's just like I love being on the coast. Whenever I go running, I try and make sure I can fit in some nature there, and just by joining groups for people who are on Strava and on Facebook who are training for the same kind of events, then we keep ourselves motivated. We can't physically meet up at the minute and go for a run together and spur each other on, but certainly just by having a little chat about it, it keeps you interested and keeps your motivation moving along. Definitely. I think I was going to kind of wrap up there, but if there's anything else that you want to discuss or talk about, I'm happy to stay on for a couple of minutes.
I think it's important to share something around, because most of us are seeking approval and people pleasing, and we're getting stuck in that cycle. So I think it's really important to think about when we're making these decisions, like I like to take some time and think about something before deciding whether I'm going to do something. So it's okay to say, I'd really love to do that, and I'm going to think about it and come back to you. And B, when you're making that decision, if you're saying yes to that person, who are you saying no to? What are you saying no to? Because often we say yes to other people at the detriment of ourselves. And we don't want to be doing that. We want to be having compassion for ourselves as well as other people, because we have to keep our cup full in order to support other people. Do you have any more tips around dealing with the people-pleasing aspect of it, Phil?
one question I would ask myself if it was people pleasing would be simply why am I seeking their approval? What is it that I feel I need from their approval? What will I gain from their approval that I can't necessarily give myself already? Yeah.
Yeah. And where else could we get that? That's really nice.
Because like I said, it all to me, it stems back to the growth that we're looking for is best served if it comes from within. So if we can find out what it is, what our goals are, what best ways we've got to motivate ourselves, and finding ways to keep ourselves on track, then we less and less rely on other people.
Yeah, that's nice. And I think as an MBIT coach, something else that I want to share is, you know, we have to really make our decisions from a really aligned place. It has to involve our head, it has to involve our heart, it has to involve our gut as well. And we've known this for a long, long time. Ancient wisdom has told us to use all three of these aspects of ourselves. And yet the science has literally only just caught up. But the science has proven that our intuition, our heart, and our guts are just as vital to making wise decisions as our heads are. And sometimes we can make real head-based decisions and we've left our heart out of it, and we find ourselves way down in a career that we just don't love, or in a relationship that doesn't feel good anymore. Or we can come from just a heart-based perspective and act with what we would call dumb compassion, where we are, you know, really trying to rescue someone and do things for this person, or, you know, do everything that they're asking us to do. And actually it's not serving us and it's not serving that person in the long term either. So it's really helpful to just check in with all parts of yourself and collect all of that information up and then choose to make a decision. And the best way to get into that wise, coherent state is through the breathing exercises that Phil's been sharing.
Yeah, and another good thing about the breathing techniques as well is if you can look up something called there's a lot of research been done on this coherence. So you can actually align your heart rate variability with your breathing, and one really good way of doing that is when you are practicing certain breathing techniques. If you, and this works for me, and I've read about this, and you can look at it as well. It's fascinating. If you focus your attention on your heart, sort of middle to not left, sort of middle to left, and think about gratitude while you're breathing. That and if you do it for a few minutes, and you can get devices that I've got a little gizmo that I put on my ear, and it tracks my. I'm a bit of a geek, and I like my technology for this, but it tracks your heart rate variability. And when you focus and concentrate on this, your breathing and your heart, and thinking of gratitude, what a difference it can make. And it's like a real deep meditation. You know, some people have. I've tried all sorts of meditation, mindfulness, transcendental meditation, which is really good. But that's a mantra-based meditation. But this, using the breathing and the heart rate variability, heart math is the website you want to look at. Powerful, really powerful stuff. I mean, I haven't studied MBIT, but I'm really, really fascinated by that connection between the heart, the head, and the gut. Time and time again, I've had meetings with people, and straight away I'm like, my gut's telling me something about this. This isn't going to go well. And I've even got to the point now where I won't take on a client after the first meeting. I'll make an excuse and say, I can't fit it into the schedule, because I've come to rely on my gut that much that I'll know. I've had in the past that when I haven't listened to my gut and thought, well, you know, when you're first starting out in business, you need every job you can get. And I think something's not right about this, but I'll take it. And 9 times out of 10, probably more than that, it will be, I told you so. You should have listened to your gut, just listen to your heart. And that, you know, a lot of these sayings that come with, you know, what's your heart telling you? what's you've got a gut reaction to things, that just those words, the phrases that we use, kind of make you think that they are a brain. They are three separate brains, because you're asking them for insights into helping you make decisions. Well, is that fit in with MBIT? Am I right?
That's exactly right. They are, they are exactly like the brain in your head. They store memories. They can communicate. We really do just need to be listening to these. And my experience has been that the best decisions that I have made have really drawn on that intuition that I've had, even when it hasn't made complete logical sense, to be honest. And people around me have gone, "What are you doing?" If it's felt like the right thing to do, it has proven to be the right thing for me.
Yeah. What about yourself, Ellie? Is there anything that you can sort of share about where your gut or your heart has guided you?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Again, a lot with work type things. It's always, I think, like you, I was in a position where there are points where you take jobs because you feel like you need to and you should, and you don't have that good feeling about it. And like, within a few weeks, you're like, this wasn't good. Yeah, so absolutely. I think I've always found my gut definitely my kind of main instinct. It's quite bizarre. I always think it's so weird how they, like, you get that feeling that something's gonna happen or something's wrong, and you're like, how does it yeah, it's amazing that it is so connected.
Our guts are the first part of us to develop, though, so it's going to be a real wise part of us, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Your gut knows before your brain does.
Yeah.
Well, your gut brain, I should say, after what you just said. Yeah. But I mean, they talk about things now. I mean, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they talk about the gut biome, about all the healthy bacteria and the unhealthy bacteria that kind of live in this ecosystem within your gut. And I was reading about, because I had to take some antibiotics recently, and I wasn't aware that it actually strips out all your gut flora. So if you take antibiotics, really you should take a pre and a probiotic afterwards to try and make sure your gut is healthy again.
So
and I wish I knew that
decisions.
Cool. Okay. So I better dash anyway, because I've got to put a 7-year-old to bed, and I think by the sounds of Ellie, you did a minute ago. Have you got some youngsters around the house?
Yeah, I do. I think they've all been happily put to bed though, so it's a bit quiet.
Well, thank you all for coming. And as myself and Phil are both Blue Health coaches, then we are, alongside Ellie, supporting the Save the Seals crowdfunder as well. So when we close this page, you'll be redirected to the crowdfunding page. And if you feel like giving a donation for tonight's workshop, then please feel free. And thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, guys. I really appreciate sharing some time with you, and hopefully everyone found it of some benefit.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Phil. Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you for doing this workshop, and another one that's been really, really interesting. So thank you.
Cool. Thanks. Bye. Bye-bye, guys. Bye all.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.